G'day, Joe here. I'm doing a video of my favourite mountain bike riding place, which is the BELAIR National Park. I'm travelling on She Oak Road at the moment that gets you to the back, one of the back gates of the park. Now on this road you pass by a school, then you get to the BELAIR railway station, and shortly after that to one of the back gates into the park. We're going over the BELAIR line railway bridge at the moment, and now this takes us down into the first track that I generally ride on. It's a double track. This part here is a bit steep, but the rest of it's quite easy to ride on, especially for beginners. Fairly smooth. Not too many rocks. The thing is, a lot of walkers use this track, so you've got to be a bit careful. Make sure that you notify them with your bell that you're coming, and slow down as you go past. Everyone's happy then. As you can see, the road's not too bumpy, there aren't too many ups and downs, well not severe ones anyway. And it goes for a couple of Ks, which is terrific. There are various tracks, other tracks that shoot off this, but at the moment this is Lodge Track, and it continues until it meets up with one that's coming up in a while, which is Echo Track. Another intersection of tracks here. Nice bit of artwork on the tank. Yep, we're still on Lodge Track. This is a bit of a steep bit here, but not too bad. Tests out the suspension a little bit. And then we come to probably one of the more steep parts of this track, well, the steeper part of this track that leads onto this track here, which is even steeper again, and you can really work up speed on this. You've got to be a bit careful though. There's a creek crossing at the bottom of it, dry creek crossing with some rocks in it, but you get quite good momentum if you speed up a bit to take you over most of the rest of the track. Sections of various other tracks, as you can see here, and this is Echo Track. Lodge Track kind of works into Echo Track. This track actually leads to what they call the Echo Tunnel, which is a tunnel that goes under the railway line that's in the park. Bit of rough ground here. Still quite rideable, easy riding. Echo Tunnel is in that track you see on the left there. but we're not going to that today. This winds up at the nursery that's in the park, and also old government house. That's the end of Echo Track. We're on the bitumen, and this is now Queen's Jubilee Drive. Yes, there we go. And there's a terrific little single track that runs parallel to this that I'm going to take. It's slightly downhill, and it's quite narrow, as you can see, and there's some prickle bushes further down that you can get hung on. Like the title says, yeah, great fun. Nice mixture of flow and some rough bits. I quite enjoy riding on this track. It's not that long, probably runs for, I don't know, maybe a K. As you can see, it runs parallel to Queen's Jubilee Drive all the way. It's only like 10-20 metres away from it. And we've come to the end of it now. So there's a couple of other little tracks that we'll go and explore. I often ride on this one. This is just a little pathway that mainly pedestrians or walkers use, but there's no one here today, so I'll have a bit of a go on it. No point riding on the bitumen if you've got a mountain bike. Well, unless you have to. Now this is Valley Road. There's another track further up, a little single track that runs parallel to it. It's on the other side, on the right hand side, and we're coming to it now. It's mainly used by mountain bike riders, but occasionally you meet the odd walker on it, so you've got to be a bit careful. It's a fairly fast flowing track. There are a few little rough spots. It goes uphill occasionally. It's not serious mountain biking stuff, but it's once again quite good fun. And all in all, this track runs probably for a couple of Ks. You can see Valley Road on the left down below this track. Now we're sort of coming into Valley Road again. The track doesn't end here, it just happens to come downhill, runs parallel to Valley Road, and then starts up again. And continues through another little parking area where the old picnickers park, and then up the hill again. Valley Road's fairly flat, this follows the contours of the hill, so it's a good little ride. Yeah, finally ends. That's as far as it goes. I'm now taking you to a different spot right up the top end of the park. As the title said, this is the top part of the so-called adventure loop. It runs pretty well right through the park. Some pretty hairy downhill riding on this particular track. I'm going to do a little section of it only, because you could do a whole video on this. It's a downhill track, as you can see. Reasonably steep and yeah, quite rough in parts. You got to be a little bit careful on this. You got to try to pick the right line. There are some rocks that are sticking out that you got to be careful you don't have pedal strike. But it's not too bad. You can travel reasonably fast on this. Not the sort of place where you want to meet a mountain bike rider coming up the other way. Yeah, I heard a bit of noise back there. And we're about to discover what it is. Park workers clearing the leaves off the track. We've had a lot of wind here lately. Yet again, we're in another section of the park, and this is a fairly hairy track that runs sort of parallel to Queen's Jubilee track. It goes up the hill and then downhill all the way back to Queen's Jubilee track. Yeah, I wonder sometimes what I'm doing here. I'm going to fall off the bike one day. I've already done that once, so I don't want to do it again. All of these things are mild compared to some of the places I see mountain bike riders on their YouTube videos. Just crossed the track again, well, Queen's Jubilee track, and continued onto the other side of it.
Hello there.
Yeah. Hey, someone coming up the track. This is mainly downhill. The first bit was slightly uphill, but the rest of it's downhill. The track starts more or less at the top of the park, and so it's flowing down into the park, into the lower sections of the park. That's why it's mainly downhill, just like Queen's Jubilee track. If you go to the top end of the park, it's pretty well downhill all the way. That's not a bad ride, but it's on sort of a main, fire track or double track. This is more interesting. And here we come again to Queen's Jubilee Drive. And that track ends there, it doesn't sort of go any further. But instead of following Queen's Jubilee Drive, this is a shortcut, a very, very steep shortcut. You can hardly ride up it. It's a bit of fun riding up, but quite hairy riding down. It's very steep, and it ends up sort of at Old Government House.
Very,
Be careful. Make sure that your brakes are working well on that bit. There we go, we've come off it. Now, for a bit of a different thing, I just came out of the park and went on to the old BELAIR golf course, which is now disused, and I'm riding on one of its tracks. It's adjacent to the park. In fact, I think it belongs to the National Park people. And this track that I'm riding on at the moment actually goes to one of the back gates in the park, but I'm not going back into the park at the moment. I'm continuing on the golf course track. This ends up at the disused golf course clubhouse, and you'll see in a minute that hey, bit of wildlife. I had an emu cross the track a bit further back, but I didn't have the camera on. Yeah, it makes it interesting. There are deer in the park as well, and on the golf course. Some of the storage sheds that were used by the golf course once upon a time. They put this little bridge in here recently. There was a big ditch there, creek crossing, that you had to negotiate. And that's because this golf course has kind of got a little mountain bike riding business attached to it. They've moved into one of the outhouses and are running a little business from it. You'll see it in a minute as I go around this corner here. That's the disused clubhouse, golf clubhouse, and this little outbuilding is the goat shed, as they call it. And that was the business, the bike riding business. I'm about to enter National Park again, and I'm sort of taking it easy now. I've ridden a few of the dirt tracks, and this is Queen's Jubilee Drive, and I'm about to end my little guided tour. So yeah, doing it easy at the moment. You can get a bit of speed up on the bitumen, of course, especially since you're going downhill. Turning into Valley Road, and this goes down to one of the scenic features of the park, and that's the Playford Lake, which is where I end my ride in a minute. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, thanks for watching.